Hey everybody, Mega 31 back for FSI DFS. I'm here to break down the 5-game slate. It's a mini slate for DK for Monday, August 9th. It starts at 6:10, so it'll be starting early tonight. FanDuel, you guys have 4 games, and it will start a little bit later at 8 o'clock. They're dropping the early game for that. So just want to give you a little bit of celebration for the weekend. So, we're always grinding out DFS and Major League Baseball. We've been having a really good season. Most nights I'm doubling my money. So bankroll management, some nights things just don't work out. It's a high variance sport. Also do NASCAR. It's another high variance sport, and spent a lot of time over the weekend studying the 2 races for trucks and for Xfinity's for Watkins Glen. TK and I put 2 videos together. We were up to like 1:30 in the morning. Got about 4 hours of sleep, and I had to work my day job on Saturday. So went in, but still had to have Major League Baseball ready before I went to work for the afternoon slate, and just, grinding through. And I thought my NASCAR lines are beautiful, and just a couple things happened, mechanical breakdowns, not like, where it's like absolute swings and misses, horrible plays, just some bad luck. So, kind of down on that. So you put the nighttime baseball lineups in. Just even though you're frustrated, you keep the same process. So, I went through my process for Major League Baseball, put out the cores. We always give a cash and a GPP core. I don't play a ton of lines, just being a coach, because my primary mission is to answer our players' questions in Discord leading up to lock, and to make sure that we have the best line for them. And if it's a late night for questions and the slate's pretty straightforward, then maybe I'll throw a couple extra lines in there. But my mission is, if there's news, is to get it out to our players and to help them make sure that their lineups are set to go, instead of me trying to edit 150 lines personally. So I had my lines in on Saturday night, went home really tired. We had another NASCAR slate, studying Sunday Major League Baseball to get that video out. And I was about ready to go to bed, and I opened up, DK and FanDuel, and DK was doing pretty good. I went to FanDuel, and I could not believe my eyes. Show you a screen share here. It was a really good night for our core. Ended up taking down a GPP with our core. A pretty nice win. And the thing is this was, sometimes you look at your lineups and you're like, wow, this is a good one, and you go heavy on it. This was an average night. I played $20 on it. Felt really good about it. Was hoping, one of the games that I really like on FanDuel is there's a $5 quintuple up. So you have 5 extra money, so you pay $5, you get 25. So figure, I usually hit that, a couple other cash ones, throw it into a GPP, and maybe make $40-50, and keep on building my bankroll and move on to the next day. But this is a time where everything just came together and the plays went off. And that's why it's very important. You should always throw your cash lineup in a GPP. It is super important to do that, because when you do that, you definitely have a lot better chances, if everything goes off like it did Saturday night, being able to have a really decent night, sometimes an epic night. So anyways, let's go back to this slate. So weather concerns for the first couple of games. So you have the Cincinnati Reds and the Cleveland Indians. There's about 20% chance of rain to start off, and then it gets into like 40 to 50% chance. So they might get this one in. There might be a delay. It might get canceled. I don't know. I just watched the weather forecast this morning, and they're across the whole upper Midwest states. There's just a lot of rain out there. So this could be a very, very tough day for sports out there. So this game might get in, but then again, you have another game, and this would be the first one on FanDuel slate at 8:05. It's the Brewers and the Cubs, and here there's a 60 to 70% chance of rain. And you probably have one of the best pitchers, and you have also one of the best hitting situations here, because we saw wind blowing out in the Cubs stadium last night, and we saw what the White Sox were able to do there against them. And we have about 11-mile-per-hour winds blowing out tonight also. So it should make this really interesting. So let's just start with the first game. We'll go through all the games if they're going to play, and then I'll give you some DK lineups. And in celebration with a big win on FanDuel, I'll give you a couple FanDuel lineups today also. So Reds and Cleveland Indians. The Reds are getting very expensive. Castillo started out the season, was very underwhelming. He's really put things together here. I don't really see any negative aggression coming. It's baseball. It could always happen. So I think he's a decent play here. Cleveland, besides Jose Ramirez, has some nice pieces, but they're not a scary offense by any means. Reyes I really like, but I like him against lefties, and like his price has just gotten way too high up there. So definitely like the Reds here. Again, it's going to be a bullpen game. I don't know why Sam Hendricks looks like he's the opener, and then Logan Allen, I believe, is coming in, and I wouldn't really consider either one of those. So when you play the Reds, you don't really need to look at playing splits. I would just be very careful with like Naquin and Akianis. If he's in, those guys could get pinch hit for. Some of the guys down the bottom of the lineup, if they're not like the regular Reds players, if you one off them, then you might only get a couple bats. So that's just really going to take the value out of even them being value plays. I know it's tough on a slate when you only have 10 teams to pick from. So it is possible to get the Reds in as a stack, but you can't take two top pitchers to do it. And in lineup building at the end of the video, I will go over that. If you want to take some one-offs, that's perfectly fine. Indians, I think if you want to throw them as a contrarian stack, Castillo, if he goes off, that's perfectly fine. Something to definitely do in a night like this where you're going to need some more off the beaten path plays to probably take down GPPs, or if all the chalk goes off and those are the highest scoring things of the slate, then everybody's going to split the prize. So if you have like a prize of like $20,000 in a top GPP and you have like hundreds or thousands of lines with the same winning one, then you might get like $10 or something. So crazy things can happen on 5-game slates, especially a slate that might turn into a 3-gamer. So the weather game, Peralta, Alex Mills, not interested in Alex Mills at all. Again, if you need to be weird and take him for some value, but I don't think you have to do that. I'll show you how to get the Reds and some other plays in without having to go to that extreme. But then again, Milwaukee has struggled at times. If it is pouring rain there, it's a light rain. They're still going to play the game. The wind is not blowing out as much as possible. Could Alex Mills maybe get some strikeouts in the bad weather, or just, with sloppy play, not them be able to not swing and hit the ball very far? Anything's possible, but I don't think it's very likely. So very, very risky GPP play. Peralta, I think, is probably the top pitcher on the slate. Then again, the weather scares me. I've expressed my concerns about the Milwaukee pitchers recently too, that they're seeing the wrestling up. So I don't think he gets 7 or 8 innings, especially if the game starts and the progressively gets worse. If they call it early, he might only get 5 to 6. But then again, you don't really have many options. So I think I prefer Castillo, Giolito for the security, but if this game looks like it's good to play, he's definitely a very, very good play on the slate here. Milwaukee offense, definitely we saw what the White Sox did yesterday against the Chicago Cubs with the wind blowing out. So it was a little bit more extreme yesterday, but still, I think you have some decent pitchers here, or hitters here to go with. Next game would be the White Sox and the Twins. The White Sox have a huge total. I think it's the second highest on the slate at 5.57. Might be a little recency bias as to what they did yesterday, but again, there's a different hitting situation here. They're in Minnesota. The wind's actually blowing in at 10 miles per hour, so I'm not as high on him today. Giolito I really like against this Twin lineup. They've like I said in Saturday's video, Twins have scored a lot of runs recently, but if you look at the box scores, it's not against the starters, it's more against bullpens later on in games. They seem to be rallying really well. They only have a 3.93 total in this one. Looking at the White Sox, they're just very expensive. You have Tim Anderson at 6K. Cesar Fernandez at 3.7 is reasonable. Abreu at 6K. I just think, a lot of people are going to go to them. I think they might be the top. No, they won't be the top team. They might be the second team on the slate here if the other 2 games are rained out. But if you want to take some pieces here, that's fine. Or just completely stack them, but I'm not playing them in my main cash build, I don't believe. Twins on the other side, again, if you want a contrarian stack to go up against Giolito, if you think he's going to have a rough outing and anything can happen in baseball and want to try to be contrarian on a very small slate, I'm okay with that. I would not touch the White Sox or the Twins pitching at all. Looks like Barrios is going to go like an inning or two, then you're just going to get the bullpen after that. So there's really no value there. New York Yankees and the Kansas City Royals. Poor Rizzo, happy birthday to him yesterday, test positive for COVID. Always have to watch this team for more and more cases to continue to pop up. So if you set the line up, just make sure at 6 o'clock, just make sure you look back before this 8 o'clock game to make sure nobody's a late scratch for COVID or contact tracing or anything like that. Taillon has been decent recently, so he's someone that you can play. This game is starting at 8 o'clock at night in Eastern, so it's about 7 out there, 92 degrees and winds blowing out 10 miles per hour. So it's a very good hitting environment. I still like Taillon. Carlos Hernandez, he's probably the biggest dart you could take. Don't know how deep he's going to go. The Yankees have a really good lineup, but then again, they've struggled recently too. So might be able to catch lightning in a bottle here. I wish the wind was blowing in and the temperatures were cooler for him, but then again, if you want to be contrarian on a slate like this, he might be one to consider. So looking again, Yankees lineup, some of the big boys are expensive, like Judge at 5.3, Gallo at 5.1, but Stanton's only 4.5, LeMahieu's 4.6, Luke Voigt's back in the lineup 3.7, Torres 3.7, Odor 3.9, Higgy batting catcher because Gary hasn't come back from COVID yet, 3.3. There's definitely some different ways that you can go here with some cheaper, and I think the Yankees are probably going to be the number one stack on the slate with the highest total. They're my favorite team, but I'm just off them. I might have some shares or a stack of them here or there, but to put them in cash, they've just been so erratic lately. I know it's a good hitting environment. I know it's against not great pitching. And they could absolutely go off and score 12 runs, put up a football score here. But I think I'm going to be leaning in other directions for cash. And I'll go over that in a little bit. Kansas City, I think they're very interesting here with the hitting situation. Taillon has been better recently, but he has had his struggles. So taking like a Carlos Santana or even some of these guys that are really cheap in the middle of the lineup. O'Hearn is really cheap at first base, has some power. Taylor, Taillon has had some issues with stolen bases. He's got some very, very quick speed. If you're punting outfield at 2.1, I don't think you can go really wrong there. Olivares, I hyped him up in Saturday's video. He had like 4 home runs in 6 games. Then he had one pinch hit at bat and did nothing in a game that was 0 for 4. Yesterday he had 3 DK points, but I still think there's some potential there. It doesn't have the splits matchup, but again, if you're looking for some cheap players to put in, if you're trying to get like 2 10K pitchers in this Kansas City team and a good hitting environment, makes a lot of sense. Final game would be the Marlins and the Padres. Zach Thomas is scheduled to start, but Miami's been playing very funny games with their pitching recently, and they've been limiting him too. So I think he's a dart, but 7.2 is very expensive there. Musgrove, I like him in this situation against the Marlins. Not very scary anymore after the trade deadline. So I think he's definitely a viable pitcher, and I think he and Taillon will be definitely popular SP2s when the people will be taking either Castillo, Peralta, or Giolito as their SP1. Like the Padres here, and actually I think I'm going to go with them in most of my cash because they open up a lot. There's some, I know that they don't have Tatis in there, but I think that it's a good matchup against the Marlins here. 4.66 totals decent. And Marlin bats, again, if you think Musgrove is going to be very popular, there's someone that you can stack in a GPP. They only have a 2.84 run total, and they've really struggled a little bit recently putting up runs. But then again, small slate, anything can happen, something to look at. So just going through again, pitchers in order that I like them. If take into consideration the weather, Castillo probably be the first one. Peralta would be second. I put him over Castillo if the weather clears up. Giolito would be number 3. Medium range, Musgrove and Taillon is the ones I'd consider there. If Thomas actually does pitch, I think he would be the highest low price pitcher that I consider at 7-2, followed by Mills if that game looks like it's going to play, but super, super risky with the hitting environment. I just hope that Milwaukee doesn't show up like they have sometimes. And I think Hernandez against the Yankees would be the second punt. I wouldn't touch anybody in the Minnesota game or pitching wise or the Cleveland pitching. Stack Cincinnati, number 1, but very expensive. Yankees, number 2, probably be very popular. White Sox, number 3, San Diego, number 4. For GPP, Milwaukee, just because of the weather. But if the weather looks good there, then I think they definitely go above the Yankees as the second stack. Kansas City, just like the hitting situation there. Minnesota, same thing. And then if you want to go YOLO stacks, Cleveland, Cubs, and Miami just for contrarian. So let's look up some lineup constructions quick, and then we'll get you on your way. So if we think that everything's going to be good in the Milwaukee game, then I'm taking Peralta as my SP1 and Musgrove as my SP2. And in order to get bats in here, I think Cincinnati is just way too expensive. So I'm going to take Navarez at catcher, and then I'll take Tellis at first base if he's in. Then I'm going to stack San Diego. So my other thing too is if Navarez isn't in, I might take Caratini from San Diego. That gives me a little bit more salary to play with also. Or is he more expensive? He's actually 3-1. So that it gives me actually $700 more to play with. So for San Diego, if they're in the lineup, I'm taking Frazier, I'm taking Mercado, I'm taking Cronenworth. So I put him at second, third, and shortstop. And then I will take an outfielder that I can afford for Milwaukee and San Diego. So Milwaukee, there's a lot of different options that you can go with. I think Yelich is too expensive. So I'm looking more like Aviero Garcia, Lorenzo Cain. If Taylor's in, he might be an option also. And then for San Diego, they have projecting Pham to be leading off. I don't know if that's true. I think Frazier probably would against the righty, but it all depends on which pitcher ends up pitching for the Marlins. Will Myers, there's a lot of different options to go with there. And then you just have to punt on your final outfielder. If there is going to be rain there, then I would just switch to the White Sox pitcher, Giolito. And again, Caratini, Frazier, Machado, Cronenworth, and whatever other outfielder you want there. And then you can take outfield, and first base would be left open. And I would fill it in with players from Kansas City or the Yankees. And then finally, if you want to try to get the red stacks in, Musgrove, Tylon, Hedges, punt catcher, hope he's playing for Cleveland at 2K. And then Votto, India, Moustakas, Castellanos, and Winker. And that still leaves you like 3K for shortstop or outfield. If you have to go a little bit up on catcher, you might have to punt, but there are some 2K guys in the outfield, which will help you get a starting shortstop. Said I'd do a little FanDuel. So I think my number 1 option for FanDuel would be if the Milwaukee game does play, taking Peralta as my SP2, then I'm going to stack the White Sox and San Diego there. I know Milwaukee makes a decent stack, but actually maybe that's my GPP when I didn't switch out the pitcher. Yep, sorry. Let me go back to that. Okay, so I take Peralta and I'm going to take Milwaukee and the White Sox for my stack. So you take Navarez or Tellis at first base, Wong at second, or Hernandez. Makata, Adames at shortstop. Yelich is way too cheap here. He's actually Kane and Garcia are more expensive than him, and he's got the splits matchup, so definitely put him in there. Jimenez, or if you want another outfielder, and then I put Abreu in utility, and then you just have about anywhere from 2.5 to 3K left for your final outfielder to finish off that stack. And then if I'm going with, if Milwaukee is rained out, then Giolito is my pitcher. I have Abreu moving up to first base, Cronenworth, Mercado, Anderson, Frazier, Jimenez, and then you can probably get Manny or in utility if you want to, and then just figure out the last outfielder, or split it up, or throw in some Yankees in the last two spots. You could go with Judge and whoever in utility, or Stanton, whoever in utility. So there's a lot of different options there. So again, Mega Ruler 31, appreciate you watching. Hopefully this was helpful for you. And we continue to keep the hot streak going from Major League Baseball. And I think after today, I think there's only 50 games left for most of these teams. So we're getting towards the end, folks, and I just appreciate you continue to watch and staying with us and keep on grinding. So hit me up on Twitter with any questions, MegaRuler31, leave some comments below. Please like our video, helps us get out to other people, and subscribe to our channel so you know when they come out. And we'll see you next time for, I think McKinley will be breaking down tomorrow's slate, which is going to be a monster 15 gamer. So thanks again for watching. Good luck tonight.